Have you ever met someone who carried a scar that told a story no one bothered to ask about? A mark people judged before they ever learned the truth behind it? This is the story of Flight Lieutenant Aisha Khan, a young Air Force officer who was mocked for the scar across her face, until the day the wing commander himself walked in, saluted her, and silenced the room forever. This isn't just a story about pain. It's about resilience, dignity, and what it truly means to serve with honor. Stay till the end, because her journey will change the way you see courage forever. And before we begin, you're watching Grow for Justice, where we share stories that remind the world what true strength looks like. Don't forget to subscribe and tell us in the comments where you're watching from, because stories like this deserve to be heard everywhere. The first time Aisha stepped into the Air Force Academy, her eyes burned with determination. She wasn't just chasing a dream. She was carrying one that had belonged to her late father, Squadron Leader Imran Khan, who had died in service when she was only 10. His last words to her mother had been, "One day, our daughter will wear the uniform." But dreams have a price. And Aisha learned early that the world doesn't always honor your scars. Sometimes, it mocks them. At the age 17, before she even joined the force, Aisha was in a car crash on her way back from a volunteer mission. She had pulled a trapped child out of a burning vehicle seconds before it exploded. The flames caught her face, leaving behind a deep scar from her jawline to her temple. The child survived, but from that day onward, every mirror reminded her of both her courage and her pain. When she joined the Air Force Academy, whispers followed her everywhere. Some cadets admired her bravery, others sneered. "Looks like the fire kissed her," one cadet joked during lunch. Another laughed. "How's she going to lead a squad when people can't even look at her face?" Aisha pretended not to hear, but inside, every cruel word dug deep. Still, she pushed forward. Her training reports were flawless. Her flight simulator scores were among the highest in her batch. She could outfly, outthink, and outperform almost everyone. But still, some of them only saw the scar that it was during an airfield training exercise that things finally came to a breaking point. Her squadron, Falcon Unit 12, was tasked with a mock rescue operation. Aisha was assigned as mission lead, responsible for planning, coordination, and execution. But one of her subordinates, a senior cadet named Raghav, refused to take her seriously. "She only got this role because of sympathy," he whispered to the others. Who'd follow a face like that into the sky? The laughter that followed cut deeper than any flame. Aisha heard it. She didn't respond. Not yet. That night, she sat alone on the airfield bench, staring at the stars that her father once flew beneath. The wind hummed against the silent aircraft nearby. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Papa, you always said scars are just medals that hurt to earn. So maybe it's time I wear mine with pride." The next morning, the exercise began. The simulation was designed to mimic a real-world disaster. A helicopter crash in the mountains, enemy territory close by, time running out. Aisha commanded from the lead aircraft, but halfway through, something went wrong. The communication system of Raghav's jet malfunctioned. Disoriented, he lost altitude and began spiraling dangerously close to the ridge. The instructors watching from the control tower gasped. Even the wing commander, Air Commodore Pratap Singh, who had come to observe the exercise, stood up. Aisha didn't hesitate. "Falcon 2, you're losing altitude. Adjust your trim tabs," she shouted through partial comms. No response. The static was deafening. Without waiting for orders, she banked her aircraft sharply and positioned herself between Raghav's jet and the cliff. The instructors yelled, "What is she doing?" "This is off script." But Aisha knew what she was doing. Her maneuver disrupted the airflow just enough to stabilize Raghav's descent. She guided his aircraft back on course using hand signals through the cockpit window, an old trick her father had taught her for when radios failed. Finally, both jets leveled. The operation continued. The mission succeeded. When they landed, the base erupted in applause, but it was for Raghav. Everyone congratulated him for recovering. Aisha simply removed her helmet, her scar gleaming under the morning sun, and walked back to the hangar in silence. But someone had been watching closely, the wing commander himself. That afternoon, as the cadets assembled in the training hall for debrief, The atmosphere was casual. Jokes flew around, the same arrogance filling the air. Raghav smirked across the room. Guess even scars can be lucky sometimes. And that's when the door opened. The wing commander stepped in. Silence fell instantly. He looked around, scanning each face before stopping at Aisha. "Flight Cadet Khan," he said. "Step forward." Aisha obeyed, unsure of what was about to happen. Then, turning to the rest of the room, he spoke with a calm authority that sent chills through the hall. "I've heard the jokes. I've heard the whispers. I've seen the smirks." His voice rose slightly. "You think courage is measured by perfection? You think a scar is something to laugh at?" He paused. "That scar," he said, pointing gently toward Aisha, "was earned saving a life before she even wore this uniform. And today, she saved another life. One of yours, because she didn't freeze when the mission went off script." The hall was dead silent. Raghav's face turned pale. The wing commander turned toward Aisha. "Cadet Khan, you showed bravery beyond protocol. From this day forward, that scar isn't a mark of pain. It's a symbol of leadership. And I want every person in this room to remember that." Then, slowly, he lifted his hand in a salute. Every cadet froze. They had never seen a wing commander salute a cadet before. But one by one, as if the air itself demanded respect, every person in that hall stood and saluted her. Aisha's throat tightened. For the first time in years, her scar didn't feel like a burden. It felt like honor carved into her skin. The wing commander stepped closer and said softly, "Never hide it again, Khan. Let them see what courage looks like." From that day on, everything changed. And one dared whisper behind her back again. Instead, they came to her for guidance, for advice, for leadership. Raghav, humbled, approached her a week later and said quietly, "I owe you my life and an apology." Aisha just smiled. "No, Raghav," she replied. "You owe it to the next person who's mocked, to stand up for them before it's too late." By the time she graduated from the academy, she didn't just carry the highest flight performance record. She carried the respect of everyone who once doubted her. Years later, when she flew her first combat mission as a commissioned officer, her call sign was chosen unanimously by her unit. They called her Phoenix because she rose through fire, carried her scars as wings, and turned pain into power. So, if you ever see someone with a scar, don't look away. Don't whisper, because you don't know the war they've already fought and survived. And that's the story of Flight Lieutenant Aisha Khan, the woman who turned her scar into a salute. If this story touched your heart, make sure you subscribe to Grow for Justice, where we honor real strength, real resilience, and the people who remind us what humanity truly means. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from, and let's celebrate the courage that lives among us every day.